how to write a love letter like Rupi Kaur. I'm bad at pronouncing names. I'm bad at pronouncing any names, and I couldn't. And I was reading that book was a nightmare. It was also a dream, but it was a nightmare because every time I would pronounce a name, I'd be like, "What's happening?" Also, they all had the same ski, Linsky, ski, d, and I'm not trying to make. I was even trying to learn Russian for 100 days because I find it such an interesting language, which is also so difficult. Anyways, needless to say, I didn't learn it yet, but 100 days. But then I started writing my book. You're not here for all of my own drama about languages. Let's get into it. So, how to write like her? She's a modern poet, which I think is really interesting. She's also much more private about her private life, so we have basically nothing about that. So we're basically going to get into the love letter portion of this relatively quickly. We're going to introduce her a little bit, but then we're going to get into it. So, she was born on October 4th, 1992, in Punjab, India. When she was a child, her family immigrated to Brampton, growing up as a part of an immigrant Sikh family. She was deeply influenced by her culture, language, experiences of identity and belonging. This is also something really interesting I found is sometimes some of your hardest moments make you who you are in the best way possible. And in the moment, obviously, you don't know it, but in retrospect, if you look at most artists, their trauma, their horrible experiences made them a really fascinating and good writer. Does that mean I think they should have had that experience? No, of course not. Like, get a grip. But it does offer a great perspective. It's kind of like the consolation prize for trauma is an artistic ability, or is another type of ability, or is a humongous sense of discipline. And I'm not saying if you don't have that after trauma, that's like, oh, you're doing it wrong. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying sometimes if you have experienced something so intense, I think it's really impressive if you can transmute it into something positive. Her mother, who was an artist, inspired her early interest in creativity. Kaur began writing and drawing, which I also find really interesting. She draws. She draws. So, like, her books, I've read them. She also draws the drawings in the book. Kaur began writing and drawing as a way to express emotion she found difficult to talk about, which this is a huge thing. I've seen some, maybe I find the clip and I'll put it in here somewhere, but there's one writer who gave a speech who was like, I'm a writer, I'm giving a speech. If I was good at speaking, I wouldn't be a writer. I was like, oh, I understand. And now I'm getting a little bit better because I have the practice of doing this thing. But there, I mean, it's still worlds apart between writing and speaking. And there's something really interesting about writing that feels so much different. Can you tell I've read a dictionary before? I haven't. I started one, didn't finish it. But there's a difference between those worlds and mediums, and somehow the slower medium feels better. Great. I didn't even put on my lighting. I just love that I like. Okay, we have outside light. Do you feel better? Is there a difference? I don't know if there's even a difference. Anyways, there, yeah, I think it's really cool. But okay, let's get into it. So her rise to fame was from Instagram, and her poetry is about love, trauma, healing, femininity. And let's get. So her writing style is relatively simple, lowercase, all of these kind of things, and she has sparked debate about what is good poetry. And one commentary I do have about her writing style is she is very direct. But I don't necessarily think that makes it bad at all. I think it's just so very different from most poetry I write, and I not enjoy, but I can kind of relate to. I think there's something. Okay, I think the more specific you are outside of metaphors, because metaphors are actually not specific at all, that's the part of the point. But the more specific you are, the more of a target audience you're hitting. So the people who experience exactly that get it, but everyone else kind of doesn't. I think that is something with her writing where if you've not experienced exactly what she's experienced, you probably don't get it as well. And but again, you can't write for everyone anyways. So you go back and forth between that. But I don't think her writing is bad, but I do understand that it is very specific and it's very straight to the point. But I think there's something beautiful about that, and I also really like the way she reads her poetry, which I think adds an extra element to it because the way she reads her poetry is so theatrical that it almost feels like a speech or something else. It's really interesting. It's very different, but I think that's the point. Art is supposed to evolve. And even an artist is supposed to evolve. Like, I think most artists, probably me too, are gonna have a phase where they have a book or a movie or a thing that they don't like, that they didn't do well. I hate the fact that I hope I don't have that, but probably. And not even because you don't like it in the moment, but you look back and you're like, hmm. And sometimes that's because it's objectively bad, but sometimes it's because that's so succinctly that time period that if you're no longer in this time period, you don't understand it anymore. And I think it's the same with her art, but in another way, which is if you don't have exactly her experiences, which are horrible experiences, and I'm really sorry she went through those, you don't connect to it because it's so direct. All right, how to write a love letter like her. Why do we want to write a love letter like her? First of all, she's a modern poet, so you've got a good chance that if you're writing a love letter for a specific girl that she knows this poet. I'm trying to go through as many poets as I possibly can because the person you're writing for probably has a favorite poet, and if they don't have a favorite poet, they maybe have a favorite play, and the poets tend to write fiction as well and plays, so you can just take it there. Or I introduce the archetype of the author, and I try to introduce the author and explain how they're like to know if you're like them, so you can kind of take on their voice a little bit. Because you see this a lot, actually. Let's talk about why I do that. You see this a lot, even though I didn't do it in this video. You see this a lot with singers. They will sound like their idols for a really long time until they find their own voice. Like with Ariana Grande and Mariah Carey, with other singers. And now she has her own unique voice, but at the beginning there is a little bit of like mimicking, not in if we could mimic Mariah, we'd all mimic Mariah, right? But but in the sense of they don't have their own voice yet. And I think it's the same with love letters, and I think it's the same with writing. Sometimes there's some people that just have their voice from the get-go. There's some people who just have a ridiculous amount of practice. I've been writing since I was like 10 years old, so I have found my voice just organically. But if you haven't, I think that's a great exercise. Okay, number one. So these are all phrases from her books and how we can turn that into a love letter prompt. Number one, love yourself before asking someone else to love you. How did they make you feel about yourself? Because I think we only focus on, or sometimes like humans have a negativity bias. We focus on how someone makes us feel shitty or insecure or whatever. But different people make us feel really confident or really happy or really comfortable or really safe. And I think we don't highlight that as much because of said negativity bias. Like you don't danger is more dangerous than happiness is useful in the wild, but you're not in the wild anymore. You've got heating, like chill out. Or maybe you don't have heating, then my prayers go to you. But how did they make you feel about you? Which is an interesting prompt. It is more of a self-centered prompt than I've given out in a while, but we've got 5 prompts. So second one, you deserve a love that feels safe, not confusing. What is okay, this is kind of a weird one, but I found this really interesting and I've been asking myself this a lot. What is a star that was not a constellation? Like what's at the beginning when you met them, you thought, ooh, might this get confusing? That actually wasn't confusing at all. You know what I mean? Number 3. Go let go of those who cannot see your worth. I guess this is more of a you-focused love letter, which we've not done in a while, but I think that might be fun. Switch it up. We've done so many like person-focused love letters, recipient-focused love letters. How do they see you? Like, how do how much flattery does the mirror of their eyes make you feel? Healing begins, number four. Healing begins when you choose yourself. Okay, this is a really cute one. Was there anything that you healed within the relationship? Because I think that does happen. Like, of course, you do the majority, and you should do the majority of healing before and stuff. Sponsored by therapist, but no, I'm joking. That sentence. But but there is something to be said about like some things you only learn in a relationship, and if there was anything that they kind of healed in you, granted, like choose your vocabulary wisely. If you're writing for someone who's not super woo woo, don't say you healed my inner child, because they're like, who, like don't do that. You do have to keep in mind you do have to keep in mind the vocabulary of the person, and not just the vocabulary, like, oh, do they know fancy language, do they not, but the emotional vocabulary of the person. Number five, love should not hurt more than it heals. Okay, I guess those two go together with the prompt I just gave you. You are enough even on your own. What makes not being alone? Like, why would you want to be with them? Like, if let's say you like being alone, so this is like the premise. If you don't, then this is not the prompt for you. What makes it more enjoyable to be with them than alone? That's the prompt. Okay, let me know if you enjoyed. If you have any other modern poets you want me to get into, also any other type of writers. We're not limited to poets. We can always take any writer. We can take playwriters. If your girl has a favorite movie, let me know the movie. I can watch it and say some prompts of how to speak like the main character guy. Again, it's not to completely mimic. I'm always going to give you a prompt. I'm not going to give you a sentence. But I think this is so fun. Women love this. And it's so easy. It's free. Like, we've got this. You're welcome. Bye. See you soon. Don't forget to check out my books. And yeah, happy writing.